Hampton Roads, and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond Wall Street, the show that brings Wall Street to your street. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio is Kenny Porter. He is the president and founder of Kenneth Porter and Company, based right here in the Hampton Roads area. We've got a great show for you this weekend. We appreciate you being here with us. Kenny, my friend, it's great to be back with you. How are you?
Kristen, always great to see you.
Thank you.
You bring up the great looks of the show, so thanks for being on here with us.
You're so sweet. I love doing this. It is such a joy and an honor to get to serve the wonderful community of Hampton Roads with you each and every week.
I'm right there with you. I'm a little biased, but one of my favorite cities on the planet.
Oh, for sure. Well, you know me. I grew up as a Navy child, and we spent many happy times at Oceana and Dam Neck, and then I graduated from William & Mary, so this is like home for me too.
Yeah, about 70% of our client base in our firm is military. So either they are serving active duty, or they've served in the past, or a family member has served. So we are very, very much rooted in our military family here in Hampton Roads. So thanks for bringing it up.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, the reality is we have over 10,000 baby boomers who are retiring every single day. And when you think about it, there's so much noise out there, so many different recommendations. I know, Kenny, some of them that we hear folks say all the time is, should I buy gold or silver? When should I claim Social Security? Should I get into Bitcoin? I mean, so much goes into retirement planning, and then you've added all these other elements that come into it. It can be really confusing for today's modern retiree.
It for the consumer, in my mind's eye, I would not envy the person that has to come into my office. And it's brave of you to want to come in and have a conversation with any advisor. And here's what I mean by that. It's like going to the doctor for the first time. When you go to the doctor for the first time, you've got to do an intake exam. And it's very much like our financial services industry. We have to do an intake exam. We have to understand the information before we can give a recommendation. But it's very unnerving. You walk into the doctor, you know, they do the triage, and then the next thing you know, the doctor's in the room with you, and he says, hey, Kristen, put this gown on, and by the way, expose yourself. So we understand that you out there have to do that you have to expose yourself to someone maybe that you've never met before. And maybe you see us on a TV show and all of a sudden you want to have a conversation with me. We want to try to make that environment as safe and as efficient and as non-threatening as possible. We want to try to have that bedside manner like a good physician would have.
Well, and it is a vulnerable thing, and I think that a lot of folks fear judgment, and so I appreciate that you and your entire team really work to create a compassionate, non-judgmental environment. We know that a lot of this stuff might be new to you. You only retire one time, right? We want you to only retire once, whereas you have helped hundreds of people go through this. You've seen so many different scenarios. Nothing throws you off, and you know how to meet people where they are and then lead them through that process.
So the process that we've been able to use with our clients is rooted in 20 plus years of experience in doing these interviews. And you know, one of the things that you and I had talked about in previous shows was introducing to folks, well, what is the process that Kenneth Porter and Company uses with its clients?
And what makes you different in this space too, right?
So in that difference, what we have found is that we are picking up where a lot of financial planners leave off. So there's different forms of planning, and in these different forms of planning, it could be maybe you just have one financial need that you want to focus on. And if that's you and you have one need that you want to focus on, we're here to help you. We want to help you solve for whatever pain or what that pleasure may be for you financially. But moving beyond that, there can be multiple financial decisions that you need to make in your retirement phase, or even going from accumulation to retirement. And moving from the accumulation phase to the distribution phase is a different set of skills. And in our firm, we focus with our clients who are in that distribution phase or going into it, either the pre-retirement phase or right into the distribution phase as a retiree. And that process that we've been using, Kristen, is called LEAP. I've been using LEAP for 27 years. I was trained by an economist named Robert Castellon on the system. And LEAP stands for Lifetime economic acceleration process. And this process really looks at 27 different areas of where money can go.
Wow.
Did you know that there are 27 places that money can go, and only 27?
You know what's interesting? I've not heard it described that way, and that's why I'm really excited to get into this with you. It makes sense just because of the what I know and having been in this industry,
Yeah.
but I think most folks, if you were to ask them, that's not common knowledge.
Well, there's a multitude of financial products in the
Right.
marketplace.
Yep.
And we see that all the time, that everyone's pitching the annuity or pitching the life insurance or pitching some financial product.
Right.
And we want to say time out on the pitch fest. And we want to say, let's really analyze where money goes,
Right.
and let's look at the effects of those money decisions. We need these financial products, but we need a process of wealth creation that focuses on, well, what should you have in your particular model? What's suitable for you as
Right.
a retiree? It could be different than what was suitable when you were in your accumulation phase.
For sure.
The type of
Yeah.
investments you should own
Right.
could look dramatically different.
Well, and when the right process is in place, then you're able to determine what the right products and right tools are to achieve the goals that each individual client has.
That's right. And you know what's interesting, Kristen? If you think about it like a boardroom, you have multiple financial professionals that you have to deal with. And so what we've done is we've narrowed it down to say, in these 27 different places that money can go, we have a number of different financial professionals that you have to deal with. And if you think about it like in a boardroom, the luxury that a CEO has in a boardroom is he has all of his top advisors around him, looking at all the different risk components, looking at all the different financial decisions that need to be made for a corporation. Well, why wouldn't we do that for ourselves as individuals?
Right.
So I brought along a graphic for you today to show what I mean this. We like to refer to ourselves in this process as a macro manager.
Okay.
And so as a macro manager, as you can see on the screen here, Kristen, we're at the center with the client, helping quarterback these different people that they have to deal with, these different professionals. So you have a tax advisor. Is the tax advisor in your world that you've been in for 20 plus years now, have you ever seen a time where the tax advisor is in the same room with the car insurance agent? Right?
I've never seen that, no.
So I'm going to bring that back to a story in just a few minutes of where the tax advisor, the car insurance agent, the legal advisor, your money manager, your insurance agent, maybe in life and health and disability, maybe a business partner. Well, what if we had all of those people in the room at the same time? Then you could make the best decisions for you and your family. And so I have a particular story as it relates to this macro manager process.
Okay.
I had a client about 15 years ago who had just left the Navy. He was in Navy dentistry. And this gentleman didn't have a lot of assets yet, but he took a bold move and left the Navy pre-retirement, pre-pension.
Okay.
So he got out in 15 years, no pension, nothing, but a little bit of money he had in his pocket. He moved to Tennessee to start a dental practice. He, over 3 years, grew this dental practice into one of the top endodontic practices in Nashville. But what's interesting is that when he left and moved to Nashville, he had to change his car insurance to Tennessee insurance.
Sure, right.
And he asked the agent to make his insurance as cheap as possible. So the agent gave my client Tennessee state minimums,
Okay.
which is $25,000 for each accident, $50,000 for the total aggregate, and then $25,000 in property damage. He kept that limit of liability in place at a point where his net worth had grown to over $3.5 million.
Wow.
So what happened with this physician, or this dentist, was he had a conversation with me. I showed the macro manager picture that I just showed our audience. And I said, when is the last time you had all of these experts in the room together helping you make the best decisions for you and your company? He said, that's never happened. Well, I said, well, what I just examined in your property and casualty insurance is that you have state minimums for Tennessee. So that means that $3.5 million of your wealth, less the aggregate $50,000, is exposed to lawsuits and
Wow.
liabilities.
Right,
This
right.
had nothing to do with his financial plan in his mind, but it had everything to do with his financial plan. That once we upped those limits from those minimum limits that the state had, and we upped those limits to match his net worth, he thought, well, that's a really good plan, but how's that going to change or affect my rate of return on my investments? Here's how it happened. He sent his daughter on an errand. She was a 16-year-old driver. She goes down into a section of Nashville called the Gulch. And those of you who have left Virginia Beach and gone into Nashville, it's a great party town.
Lots of people walking around there.
Lots of people walking around. Well, wouldn't you know, a pedestrian walked in front of her car. She ran over him, 2 broken legs, severed liver, punctured lung, you name it. The guy was in really bad shape. And he was in the crosswalk. So she was at fault. Well, as you would know, he hired an attorney, the gentleman who was hit. And the attorney went after my client's assets. But because he had the maximum liability protection with his car and his homeowners and his liability policy, none of those assets that he had worked so hard for were exposed to that risk because we had protected them with the proper protection by maximizing the protection benefits and minimizing the cost. To this day, that client says to me, Kenny, that is the best financial advice I ever got because you protected my castle. So that's one of the things that we do with our clients and an example of how we want to show people that it's not just about the investment return. It's about protecting the investments and protecting the future wealth of those investments.
Well, I know folks watching might be now thinking to themselves, gosh, I've never thought of it this way. I've never looked at how all these different pieces fit together. Could, unfortunately, in some cases, negatively impact me if not looked at. I know you're offering the complimentary portfolio review for our viewers. Can you walk us through what that entails?
Yeah, so this complimentary portfolio review really gives us an opportunity to look at those things that matter in the retirement distribution phase, which is, well, how much have you amassed? And if you've amassed a significant amount of wealth that now you have to start using in that distribution phase, well, we want to look at not only that portfolio, but we want to look at the other 26 components that affect that portfolio. So we'd love today to give you a free or complimentary portfolio review just by reaching out at 844-575-8071. And one of our team members will be happy to get that set up for you.
Wonderful, Kenny. Thank you so much. Again, that number to call is there on the bottom of your screen, 844-575-8071. Or if you have your smartphone handy, but you'd rather not talk to someone right now, don't worry, we've got you covered. You can simply pull it out. You can open up that camera app, point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Kenneth Porter and Company will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary portfolio review that way as well. We've got more on today's show. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
Yeah, what's interesting about my journey in the financial services industry is it happened by mistake. My early career was in the Marine Corps, serving in the United States Marine Corps. I had a position that was offered to me to leave the Marine Corps and go into the railway. Well, as quickly as I was hired, I was part of a RIF, a reduction in force. So I lost my job with the railway, and now being unemployed, I was on a mission of panic to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Well, my father-in-law happened to refer me to a planning firm that he was working with, and was given an opportunity to go to work with this financial planning firm in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And they were hiring veterans. I interviewed for the position, and my mentor at that time was the owner of that firm and gave me an opportunity in the financial business and sent me through a ton of different financial training in schools to be able to serve clients 27 years later. So 27 years in the business, I had a little 3-year hiatus where I'd sold my advisory firm and took some time off, wrote a book, and then launched Kenneth Porter and Company January 1st of 2012. Seeing the excitement of a retiree being able to say, you know what, Kenny and his team has helped me have the confidence to go into retirement without the fear of running out of money or having too little money in their retirement. There's nothing better than to see that person walk out with that confidence. It just makes me feel great.
Welcome back to Watching Beyond Wall Street. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Kenny Porter. He is the president and founder of Kenneth Porter and Company, based right here in Hampton Roads. And we are talking today specifically about the process, Kenny, that you use with your clients. You know, that story, I think of how devastating that could have been for your client
Yeah.
had you not walked through this entire process with him and really looked. I mean, we say this on the show all the time. It's so true. How you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others. And this is something that
Right.
really sets Kenny and the team of Kenneth Porter and Company apart. So can you talk a little bit more specifically about your process
That's
and
right, yeah.
what folks can expect to walk through with you when they come in to meet with you?
Absolutely. So our process is really rooted in looking at those three macro components I talked about in the first segment. Those three macro components are called protection, savings, and growth. And they're broken up into 9 subcomponents. And so what we're doing with our clients when they come in on that initial interview is we're finding out of those 27 places that money can go, Kristen, we want to see, well, where's your money at?
Right.
And where are your protection components plugged in to the savings and growth components in a way that are they aligned? Are they coordinated? Most of us in life, I think, can relate to this. Kristen, I don't want to embarrass you on TV here, but do you have a junk drawer at home?
Oh, we all have a junk drawer at
We
home,
all have a
right?
junk
I know
drawer,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, it's in the kitchen. It's kind of that hodgepodge where it's usually where I tell my husband, I'm like, babe, where does this live? He's like, what do you mean, where does
Yeah.
this live? I said, everything has a home. So it's kind of the place where all his stuff that needs to go somewhere goes.
And in the world of financial planning, I think all of us understand that we have a bunch of different financial products, but a lot of times they're not coordinated,
Right.
they're not integrated, and they don't work together efficiently and effectively. So they'll go search out an advisor and say, hey, can you help me with this product? And a lot of times what ends up happening is just moving this investment to a similar investment, but it didn't really change the process or the
Right.
coordination or the integration of those financial products. So what we've done is that we've channeled this into these 27 different areas. The first one I'd like to show on the screen is our protection module.
All right.
The protection module looks at your assets and income, and your assets, income, and life as it relates to protection components. So you can see at the top left of this in assets, this is where we're going to analyze your car insurance, your homeowners, and your liability insurance. Those 3 components of protection, Kristen, they only protect your assets. They're one-dimensional. And then when we get down into the asset and income protectors, that's disability, long-term care, medical, or even like with Medicare and P5 as you see there. And then government plans would be like pensions and Social Security. And then our 3-dimensional protectors are wills and trusts, ownership agreements, and life insurance. And if you don't have these 9 protection components coordinated appropriately, then everything that you're doing in your investment portfolio could be exposed to those risks. So the idea in insurance is to transfer risk.
Right.
It's to transfer the risk to an institution or transfer the risk to maybe a will and trust type document that will help you mitigate things like estate tax,
Right.
if that is an issue for you. So in our model, we can analyze those protection components to see if they are coordinated and integrated appropriately with our next component we'll talk about is the savings components. So in these 9 modules, and again, I brought a graphic for you today to show you our savings components.
Okay.
In the savings components, they're made up of everything from as simple as a checking account, a savings account, and I'm not sure if the guys have
There
the
we go.
graphic up.
Yep.
There we go. So just right at the top left, your safety type accounts, your checking, your savings, your credit union accounts, those are built for safety and liquidity. And then when we look at the next modules, those are built for safety and yield. That's savings bonds, CDs, money markets. And then in our 3rd-dimensional components of savings, those are safety, yield, and tax benefits. Those can be tax-deferred products, tax-free products like a Roth IRA or Roth 401k. And then we have our 3rd component there of safety, tax, and yield, and that's tax-deductible savings like IRAs and 401ks. And I'd like to stop here and just share a story with you. So we were talking about this endodontist earlier in our segment who had protection components that needed to be improved.
Right.
Another thing that was going on with the clients similar to him was another naval officer who had gone into his own private practice as a prime vendor for the federal government and built an amazing business. When his business, he had done so well that he had accumulated over $5 million in his qualified plan. So in that component of safety, tax, and yield, he had significant wealth that he had saved inside a qualified plan.
Which also can be known as a pre-tax or a tax-deferred plan. All those phrases mean the same thing, meaning that they are qualified to pay tax on.
Absolutely
right?
correct.
Yep.
So in his situation, he was coming close to his retirement distribution phase that was going to be forced on him, called required minimum distributions. And what we were able to do with this model was do an analysis on not only his protection components, but this analysis in his savings components allowed him to see that if he waited until 73 to start taking his distributions from his qualified plan, he was actually going to push himself into a much higher tax bracket than what he had preconceived in his pre-retirement phase. He had always been taught that if you go to retire and you take money out of a retirement plan, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket.
Right, and that's the frustrating thing. That's what we were all told. This is
Yeah.
why, when 401ks and IRAs were created, we were told this is a really good thing. You put the money in, it's tax deferred, and when you take it out in retirement, supposedly you'll be in a lower tax bracket, but a lot of folks are not experiencing that.
Kristen, not till we showed him all the moving parts of his pension, his Social Security, the distributions he was taking from his very profitable business.
Right.
Every advisor had told him, oh, just leave the money in the plan. You don't need to take it out. And then when we started examining that, that was only going to create an unintended consequence.
Right, of greater tax liability.
Who wants to do that when they can see it and measure it?
Right.
This model helps my clients take that sales hype off the table. It's not about the sales hype, it's math.
Right.
And when we look at the math, does the math tell you what you should be doing after you start applying these other components of tax, inflation, planned obsolescence, technological change?
Yeah.
Those are things that can erode wealth.
Absolutely.
So we want to have a model in place that examines that and then shows it to the client in a sane, simple, and efficient manner.
Absolutely. Well, I know we've been through now 18 of
Yeah.
the 27 places where money could go. We'll have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will do the remaining
We'll pick
9.
up the last
but
one.
what would you say to folks who are going, you know what? Gosh, I didn't realize that all these pieces needed to fit together, and they would like some help putting their own plan together?
I'd say your process is going to start the same, Kristen. What we would offer to you today is start the process by picking up the phone and calling us at 844-575-8071 and allow us to give you a complimentary portfolio review where we can not only look at your investment portfolio, but we can look at these other 27 or 26 sectors of where wealth is created and see how that's working for you in your plan. So don't be shy. Pick up the phone, give us a shot to have a conversation with you.
Wonderful, Kenny. Thank you. Again, that number to call is there on the bottom of the screen, or you're also welcome to take out your smartphone, and if you scan that QR code, that will get you connected for your complimentary portfolio review that way as well. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Kenny's going to reveal the remaining 9 areas where your money can go. Wonder if you can guess what they are. Stay with us.
I have the confidence in my team that if clients have questions, they can reach out directly to my team members. If I'm in a scheduled meeting or with a client, they have my associates to be able to fall back on. I have a chief payer planner. His name's Noah Baker. He always gets mad at me when I say he's my right-hand man, but there's no better way to describe Noah. Noah's an integrated part of our planning process and our team. And alongside of Noah's his wife, Amanda, who is our chief accountant within our firm, and she also runs on the side of our bookkeeping and outsourced CFO services. And then I have a couple of children who are working with me. I have 5 children, 2 of which are working with me in the business. My son, who's currently serving in the United States Army, gets out next year and is coming into the financial services industry. It's a family business that is built around our core principles of serving families in Hampton Roads.
Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Wall Street. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Kenny Porter. We've been walking through the wealth and income process that Kenneth Porter and Company enacts for their clients. And I know, Kenny, you've shared that there's only 27 places where someone's money can go. We've worked through the first 18.
Yeah.
Time now to talk about the remaining 9 places.
The remaining 9 is the exciting place. It's where everyone wants to go. It's growth. And the growth model looks at the investment world. So the investment world in this growth model, and I think we have a graphic that we can show you as well here. This graphic's going to look at everything from income to income and growth, to income, growth, and tax benefits. So at our top modules there in income, that's government bonds, corporate bonds, municipal bonds, and then in the secondary components of income and growth, these are preferred stocks, blue chips, growth securities like mutual funds, ETFs. And then our income, growth, and tax benefits, this is going to be everything from collectibles, which is a big thing today. Everybody's talking about gold. Should you have it? Well, we can examine that in the model. So collectibles, real estate, and then business or tax shelters. So these last 9 modules here, Kristen, when we look at how they correlate and integrate with our savings and protection components, what we really want to focus on is the 6 top things that we know investors want to know and what they want to have in their plan. So these top 6 things are investors want their assets protected from market volatility or wild swings in the market. We've been interviewing folks for years now, maybe thousands of folks, and these are the top 6 that I'm hearing them say in the current markets that we're in, what they're looking for. So they want to have this protection from the market, especially during the distribution phase. Well, how do we show that and correlate that in the market or in our model? That's an important factor that kind of sets us aside from the rest of the market. It's not just the next best product. It's what's your process of wealth creation. 2, investors want to pay the least amount of income tax. Have you ever met anyone going into retirement that says, hey, sign me up for paying the most? I haven't.
No, most people don't want to do
Every
that.
person comes and says, Kenny, how do we pay the least amount of taxes possible?
Right.
So we see that, and we want to show verifiably how we can help them accomplish that mission.
Now, real quickly, we only have less than a minute, so the remaining 4?
Investors want to be positioned to protect for maximum income in their distribution phase. They want to make sure that their assets are protected from creditors and lawsuits. They also want to make sure that they're protected from devastating long-term care and health care costs in the distribution phase. And then lastly, they would like to have their estate plan efficiently designed to pass wealth on to the future generations.
And that's what you are passionate about building, is a comprehensive
much so.
plan that can put all of these needs and concerns together into one. Awesome.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to having the opportunity to share that with our prospects and clients who will give us an opportunity to come talk to us.
Wonderful. Kenny, thank you. Again, that number to call is 844-575-8071. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to seeing you next time here at Beyond Wall Street.